That's okay. You're gonna get a little thingy that says the recording has started.
Oh, cool.
That's basically to let you know, that the recording has started. So it's lovely to finally meet you. Angel is sick today, so she might join us a little later, but right now she is supposedly sleeping. So
Okay.
that's kind of a thing. I'm sorry, I'm just finishing my breakfast. But first of all, welcome. Salutations. Um, Kind of how I planned this out is that this first hour is basically just going to be kind of getting to know you and Jake and Get Torqued and kind of what's been going on. You've been following my stuff from the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
So I
It's
kind of
been
want to hear a whole bunch about that. And then after that initial, like, kind of get to know you, we can dive into some of your stuff and we can go through it and may or may not end up on the podcast. I don't know. But that's where we're going to start. So first of all, why don't you introduce yourself, Steve?
so yeah, I'm Steve. I'm the head of this small organization. We based mainly off of rally and rally racing, but we tend to stray into the drift world too. There's a lot more drift local to us than there is rally. Like currently, the only
Okay.
race coming up is in April, so for us, rally is really difficult. So well, that's where we sort of shy towards the drift world because rally is so far and few between. Oh, that's where he went. He went to go get the shirt on. There we go. Now we're
Oh, yeah, got to be branded,
yeah. So, but
Cool.
yes, our main like goals are based around like growing rally in our region because like I said, the first event is 3 months out. It's in the one after that's in June. It's another 3 months out. It's just ridiculous. We should be racing every weekend. We should be driving every week. It's yeah. So that's our main aspirations are around growing our community, and that's where I think my intentions aligned with yours when you were first starting out and I first started this. I started as like a sticker business, and now it's just purely motorsports and passion based. And so, yeah, I brought him.
Nice.
He has a bunch of trucks, and he was gonna ruin one of them doing a rally race. And I'm like, why don't we go have some getting a car and building it for this? And that's sort of how the whole organization started off. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So ultimately, what got you into it? How did you start? Like, where did the interest come in for cars for both of you guys? Jake, actually, hang on, let me back up. Why don't we introduce Jake?
Well,
Hello, Jake.
hello. Well, I say like probably as a kid with the cars. My grandfather drag raced, so we were always at the track every weekend. From a little kid, collecting Hot Wheels, building little model cars.
All right.
Mine's
So,
back.
okay. So then what ultimately got you in? I'm sorry, I'm not very well versed in cars. Angel, the co-host, is the car person. She used to do rally and drifting and all of that kind of stuff, and she's sick, and I feel really bad that she can't be here. She might jump in a little later, but we shall see. So what started the whole adventure? What brought you together?
Like me and Steve.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, shit. We were probably 12, 13 years old, and we both really loved BMX. And I think we probably met at the skate park.
Yeah.
So that would be 20 years ago. Yeah, we met at the skate park. Extreme sports brought us together between skateboarding or BMX. It was one of those. And
Yeah, before we could drive.
yeah, before we were driving. Yeah. Yeah. And now fast forward
That's
20,
awesome.
we're trying to ruin every car we own together.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
Did she get
Speak of
up?
the devil, let her show up. Bum, bum, bum. It's like she knew we were talking about her.
Hi,
Hello.
sorry.
It's all good. They were just telling me all about their drifting and rallying adventures.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool. So, Angel, do you have any questions for them? I know you weren't here for the introduction, but I'm sure that you want to get to know them as well.
I think drifting and rallying sounds awesome. I wanted to get into drifting before I got into dirt bikes, but that was a lot more expensive.
that is
True. That is true. Okay.
Other
So
than-
what
no,
started
There are questions right off the bat, yeah.
what started the whole Get Torqued adventure?
Well, it originally started off as a sticker and shirt company based around rally and drift motorsport. And it was before I had learned as much as I know now, and I didn't make a sale in the first year and sort of threw away the idea. Gave up too quick kind of deal. I wasn't persistent back then. Somewhere in between then and now, it sort of got rebranded as just a straight motorsports brand, and we're sort of heading more on the marketing side of motorsports. But we sort of created a really strong purpose, and we've had a couple like volunteers come out, and we keep restructuring our purpose to benefit our region and benefit people in our region, and build our community. And like Angel said, drifting is too expensive. That's the whole thing, is we want to show people how they could do it for $3,000. If you set aside $500 every 3 months, you can have a car next year. And for us, we kind of want to show people that you can do it on a normal salary. You just get your best buddy and you guys go halves on it and go do it. Go do it this weekend.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, you actually like tickled me a little bit. I love it. That's really awesome. So $3,000 to start drifting, huh?
I mean, we could probably do it
Yeah.
in about 4, but yeah, that's the whole idea, is like it doesn't have to be a crazy thing that you need to plan your whole life out, and maybe when you retire you get it. That's our whole purpose. Like, we want it to be easier and more inclusive than that.
That's amazing. So when so you've been a follower from the start of kind of a lot of the social media stuff that I've been doing and some of the programs that I've been launching and everything. And you haven't had the chance to join the group coaching program. Like, you haven't been involved in any direct coaching whatsoever. And you've been sending me messages like once a month of the monthly updates, and I freaking love them. And I just want to touch base on kind of like, because I want to show people that what I put out for free actually does help, if you go through it. And has it been helpful for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of good points that we've written down, and we have to can't think of the right words. So I've never talked to anybody before. It's the first time.
It's okay.
For me,
Don't let the scary red circle throw you off. It's all good. We work on that. Don't worry.
so following you from the start and being like a believer in like pretty much everything that you teach, for me, the first thing was making my team of 4 or 5 people also believe in it, and so that we can all sort of take action together. And I think especially the free content, it was great on like changing their minds. Like, if you tell somebody we're going to get these businesses to partner with us, and we're going to create a rally school, and we're going to have 10 cars, and they're like, oh yeah, right, all right, okay,
Yeah.
buddy. So going through and actually like explaining it quite a bit, it was nice. And anytime they had any questions, I was so like further along in your program than they were, to where me teaching them more was also helping me grow and learn too. So I think that's maybe why it seemed to be so easy to grasp, I guess. But now that I've been listening to the podcast, it's coming together even more, where we need the surveys. We need, there's some things that we're missing that I definitely see that now. But
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys are making massive progress. I actually just pulled up a question or a message that you sent me where you said that you were working on a $2,000 to $4,000 partnership with local event hosts. Did that ever happen for you guys? How did that pan out?
the idea for us is we need to partner with businesses, and then we're going to take that money and invest in their organization. And they're sort of small scale right now, so we know both of the event, like the higher ups. It's what are the DJ and Taylor. Oh, so DJ and it's a couple that we know, and they run all of these events. And every year they're like, yeah, we're gonna have 5 events next year, and then they have like one measly one that sort of flops anyway. And we just want to make sure that that doesn't happen with some of our budget. So that's actually us investing in them, not them investing in us. So that's and that's
Wow.
where we were talking about like we did have a little talk with them. We're gonna eventually have coffee with them once we do have budget. But with her, she was giving us like the first pit, like say the first pit on the right after you come in the gate. Anytime somebody came up to them when they were busy and asked a question, they were gonna just throw them in our direction, like, oh, find one of those guys with the Get Torqued shirts on, they'll answer anything. And so we sort of had like a event audience funneling to our tent, and sort of traffic, driving our traffic up and giving us a really nice premiere spot. And yeah, so in that arrangement, we're hoping to drive our local audience way up and help them have more events per year and well-rounded. If we need 2 outhouses instead because the one got really nasty, if like
As a lady, I appreciate that. No.
and
I've been to events with only one, and it's terrible. So okay. So what made the shift between the sticker company to the whole you can get started rallying at $3,000 each, going with your buddy and like becoming a growth? What was the shift that happened for you guys? Where did that happen?
Yeah, so it's more for you. I wasn't involved in the first beginning of it.
It was, I think, in my own development when I started to realize that passion-driven action is, it's going to lead to better success. And so I started to wrap my head around more of a mission-driven business rather than, item-driven or, manufacturing or whatever you would call it. I'm not providing a product anymore. I'm more passion based, I guess would say. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think it would lie in my own development though. It was like realizing that, having a mission statement and a purpose behind the program really takes precedent over anything.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, Angel, I did in fact just pin them so that they were the big fit. I just had an interview yesterday with the CEO of Custom Chrome, who is the direct competitor of Drag Specialties. And I forgot to pin him in our interview. So Angel's face is really big in the recording video and his face is in the tiny little corner over here. So that's, in case your screen just changed, I just made you guys the big faces because I forgot to do that the last time. That's awesome. That's really cool. I love that you guys are going after like growing the sport and showing people that it can be done in a budget. So have you guys, you keep talking about like a work, like I went through your survey that you sent and it was talking about a workshop. So are you guys doing like an education based thing? What's this workshop that I hear bits and pieces about?
Well, everything comes in time for us. Eventually the idea would be to have almost a setup like I imagine you have, where there's land, there's a venue, and there's somewhere to train, and then there's also like a classroom setting too. So like that part in the survey was just kind of left there from the template, so that was sort of on me, but that was me
Okay.
being late this morning when I whipped it together. But like the main program would be based around learning, and it would be, you know, learning techniques, skills, and then taking it a little bit further and trying to figure out how to grow budget. So I would be teaching our success on the business side of it too. So sort of this side. That's where like I almost try to, like, when I'm imagining our future, I almost visualize something similar to what I'd imagine you have going on, where you're hosting a lot of clinics, you're teaching a lot of people the ins and outs of not only how to ride and how to, you know, I'm not very versed on two wheels, but you know, learn how to ride better, and also learn the business side of it and how you could ride 3 to 5 times a week instead of three to 5 times a month or a year. And yeah, just get out there more, doing it and doing it easier. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. So have you guys considered, this is just me kind of blabbermouth in here for a second, but have you guys considered actually putting together a super short, kind of exactly what I did to introduce you guys, where you have like an ebook that's just the basics, like a grid map of here's how you start drag racing at just $3,000, you know, like don't think drag racing is so massive, like start at $3,000, and that can help you grow your email list so that you can release a workshop, like a weekend workshop or something, where you can invite 10 to 12 people to just join for like $100, and you can hash out the whole get started drag racing for $3,000. Because I've actually had a lot of drag racers reach out to me saying that they need marketing help and branding help because it's too expensive for them. So if you have a program already, you have a roadmap of like, here's how to figure out your stuff for $3,000. I think that would actually be really useful for the community. And then you could have that at your drag events for spectators that come through, or even people that just, because I don't know about you, but people in my sport complain that there's no money in motorsports, and that it's like, it's so expensive, I can't do anything. So even if it's just $3,000 to get started, is it $3,000 to maintain too? Like, do you somehow have a like budget program that actually works well for you guys?
That's food for thought.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a great way to pay it forward, and like you said, build our audience too. So upon like building our community, people will, I've gotten it 3, 4, 5 times now, where people will reach out and be like, how do you do what you do? Where do you go to do it? You know, how?
Yeah,
Why?
exactly.
And it's like, that's exactly why we're trying to structure this so firmly and build straight like standards that we stand by right now, so that we can constantly pay it forward and constantly help if there's questions, any question, you know, like we've been through it, we've been doing this, we're both 30, 32, you know, we've been since we were 15 wanting to do this, and we're here now. And you know, for you to be able to do it yesterday instead of tomorrow, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a really good way to get your foot in the door, at least to raise a little bit of funding to do whatever it is that you want to go forward and do. One of the things that I talk about a lot is like a value ladder, because unfortunately, as much as I love to help people for free, it costs money to help people. Like it really does. And even if you're trying to help people for $3,000, like the reason why you have a free ebook that just kind of lays it out a little bit is because you don't have the time or the ability to be able to help everybody. So you have this pamphlet that helps people. And then if they want more handholding, kind of a work through, just offer something really basic for $99 for a weekend, like online workshop. And you can really get in depth on that stuff. And that'll give you the funding to be able to help the events, or get the funding to pay it forward, if you will, because that's the number one thing that I always say is people are like, well, you're making money off of this stuff. And it's like, no, I take the money and I pay it forward. Like, it's all about growing the community. Because if you can make money, you're going to put it back into the events or the organizers or something to have bigger and better events. You can invest in media and get more attention on that kind of stuff. So I think starting really basic and based off of your story, I'm just playing off of the little bit that I heard and the thing that I was like, holy crap, you did that. Like, I'm not even in drag racing. I'm like, you made that happen. Like, that's a good thing to grow the community and get attention, is that you can get started. Hey, Sam, did you know that you can get started drift car racing for only $3,000? Yeah, Sam just said he thought it would be 15 to 20.
See, and I've been in the world, like I have friends who drift, and like I didn't know that. So like
I mean,
that's
really,
incredible.
you got to be really good at marketplace deals. So you might sit there on your phone more than you actually build the car, but
Yeah. No,
I mean, and that's
level.
It's like I said, I've been around it. So I'm your guys' age, and I've been around that stuff since I was 19. So I've been in dirt bikes for like really honestly like 3 years. And before that was all cars. And it's just like I've never heard of anybody buying a car with their buddy and doing that. Like I've heard of like, you know, your buddy's a mechanic and like he's gonna help you, so that helps keep costs down. But I legitimately have never heard of somebody buying a car with their friend, and it makes so much sense. And like I said, I've been doing this since I was 19, and I never thought of that. So it's like genius in simplicity.
I mean, it's the same thing with my program. Like, I don't teach anything new. You can find everything I teach you. The difference is I show you how to do it quickly. So you don't have to go forward for 7 years finding all the information I found. Like, I give it to you in 3 months time, basically. And it's the same thing with you guys. Like, yeah, it took us 10 years to figure out how to do this, and you spend a lot of time on your phone, but you only do it for $3,000, because there's a saying out there that goes, you either have one of two things: you have money or time.
Right.
And you've proven to me that you have more time than money, because you have gone through and dissected every single one of my free content pieces to make it happen for you. So that means you have more time than money, and that's okay, because that's what's made drifting work for you at $3,000, you know, is that you've made you've made drifting happen at $3,000 in exchange for spending more time on your phone. Like, but what is it? The specific thing on your phone, you know, you've spent 10 years figuring out the specific things you got to do on your phone to make it happen at $3,000, so that somebody else doesn't have to waste 10 years trying this and trying that and doing this and doing that, and nothing works at the end of it, you know? So does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That's actually a really cool thing you got going for you, and I'm actually really excited about it, and I can't wait to see what happens from it.
Yeah, us too. We're actually installing some coilovers today.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
Yes, we got a little sidetracked unboxing our suspension this morning, so
That's okay. It worked out. My mother sent me a thing saying that the privacy policy link that I had on my website wasn't working. So I spent like 3 hours this morning trying to figure out how to make the privacy policy work, and I just couldn't. So that's my new mission for today. So I get it. Sidetracks.
We're computer literate today. We were trying to get you on the TV and then us through a phone, and the microphones wouldn't work and the speakers weren't playing where we wanted them. So now we're just on a phone. Our mic is coming through the phone. The speakers are on the phone. That's it.
Well, it works, so that's good. I'm just on a phone, so it's fine. You don't have to be all super fancy for everything, but yeah, I totally get it. I did networking, and like I worked with computers for several years, and I still struggle sometimes. Like Catherine has this horrible video of me from the other day when we were trying to do the live. To be fair, it's new technology and like a new system, but I was struggling hardcore. So it's not.
She would pop up on my screen and it was just her eyeballs. Like,
I'm watching you.
It was a hilarious. It was like a solid 10 minutes of us just dinking around inside a StreamYard. It was hilarious. But beside the fact though, so okay. So you guys have this thing. So I didn't mean to completely sidetrack whatever your future goals were, but what was the progression you were originally going to follow?
but originally, when?
Like you have this goal, you have this vision, right? What are the things that you were gonna do to lead up to said vision? Because everything happens in time, fair. So you started as stickers, and now what do you do right now?
Right. So now we produce a whole, like, way too much content. way too much content. And we plan on just being really persistent and, never throwing in the towel. So constantly filming everything we do. We're going to go out and work on the car, and we're going to film every minute of it. And now this time we might actually make an intro video, because we're getting used to being on camera a little bit more. But
Yes.
it's film everything we do, and then later go over and do voiceover work. And we don't really have that big of like a YouTube following, but with persistence, it's one of those things where I said before, I gave up way too soon on the stickers and shirts. And this thing is, I'll just do it the next 10 years. If you want to help or not, it doesn't matter. If it's just something that we do, it's part of who we are as a brand. We make content, we race cars, we drive cars, and that's pretty much it. It's we have like a big standard of trying to keep everything off of the streets, and instead of words like I and me, we try to use words like we and us and our stuff rather than my stuff. And it's we try to be super inclusive with everything we do, and try to bring our small community with us. That's really important.
That's amazing. Oh, so okay, I've got a really great question for you. So with your goal and your mission, right? I know I kind of just shook it up a little bit, keeping it off the streets, like Kevin. Yeah, true. I had a student, his whole thing was he was a road racer now, but he used to take that on the streets. He would street race and stuff on a BMW S1000 RR and all this jazz. And he got in trouble a lot with the law, and he did high speed, like evasive stuff, until one day they followed him into his neighborhood. They didn't follow him home, but they followed him into his neighborhood, and he was like, okay, too close. So he took it to the racetrack, and now he works with the police department, where instead of when they pull somebody over for speeding on the street, like excessive speeds, 100 miles an hour or whatever, he'll give them a warning, and they'll hand them a pamphlet with an adopt a newbie program where they go to the track with Kevin.
Oh, that's super.
To introduce them to racing and like satisfying that high speed thing outside of the streets.
And also not just take their license right off the bat too. So
yeah. Well, if you do it again.
He's got a Ninja, and he doesn't even ride it. You said it scared you the last time you rode it, right? There's something like that.
Yeah, it's a little broken.
So, it's broke too.
I've had that years, yeah. I've done my fair share of 170 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that's, at 32, we want to keep it off the streets, but when we're 17, maybe not.
Yeah. So that's really cool that you have that going. So that's a separate angle. But I wanted to ask kind of who is your target audience? Who's your ideal, like who's your fan? What does that structure look like? I know we've talked about it a little bit, and you've asked about audience avatars a little bit, but I'm curious to hear what you got so far.
Yeah, so for me, I know to look in my past for the best audience. So look at things that I've liked in the past, like 10 years or so, things that I've been into, brands that I've followed. And I don't exactly try to emulate them, but I definitely like take notes, so to speak, and like a lot of motorsports brands and stuff like that. But I know you're supposed to look at yourself. But then I'm a welder now, so that's like within the last 3 or 4 years, he does industry sort of specific stuff to the same industry that I'm in. So we also have this sort of side angle where we're targeting machinists and welders and also
blue collar guys,
right? Blue collar industry specific people. And it's crazy because I posted that survey this morning, and two of the few people that already did it were machinists, and one of the brands that we're targeting is a distributor for industry specific stuff. So it's already like sort of, the pieces are falling together, you don't even have to press on.
Yeah. That's kind of fun when your survey actually aligns with the audience that you're going for.
Absolutely. Yeah, but
this is all really exciting to hear. Like I said, from somebody who, has been at least around this stuff, like this is really cool. I wish I had had this when I was younger, because I love what I do and I love dirt bikes, but like it would have been really cool to like not thought that drifting was just going to be a dream forever. And like you said, like that was when I win the lottery, that's what I'm going to do. Like
get my 401k money, I'm going to spend it on a drift car.
Exactly. And like that's the thing, is I had a lot of friends who, they were really good at like turning cars and like flipping them and whatever, so they made a lot of money doing that. And so like they're buying $15,000-$20,000 drift cars, and so that was like all I knew. I didn't know you could buy a car for cheaper and like turn it into a drift car. So this is really cool, you guys. I'm super excited for you. Like you can't see me, but I'm smiling right now. Like this is awesome.
So following along those lines of like your audience is machinists, but you're looking back 10 years, what do you think about, and again, I'm just spitballing, just based off of what you're hearing, this is kind of like a 50-50. I'm basically doing a one-on-one, but also a podcast interview at the same time. Or I guess 2-on-2, question mark, something like that. Where what if instead of being so generic of like, well, we've got this audience and this audience of like, it's 10 years ago, but also welders. What about those people who are trying to get into drifting, and they're not? It's funny because I have the image of the person in my head, but now trying to describe it as funky. Like they're trying to get into drifting, and they're kind of that dopey, like just out of high school, like 19, 20, not sure what to do with their life. They're kind of dinking around a little bit and some stuff they probably shouldn't be, but they want to do cool stuff like drifting. It's cool, flashy, get all the underdecked lights. Like that's the person you're kind of talking to, because you're talking about budgeting, like budget racing. But along that way, you pitch that whole like, yeah, get started drifting for $3,000. But the thing you're actually teaching them, you're giving them trade school, you're giving them trade skills, you're giving them like the ability to be independent and like work on their own stuff by going through the machining, by going through the welding, by being able to speak on like building your own car. It's kind of like a separate education for building a successful person for the most part, because there's a saying in road racing where give them a bike and they can't afford drugs. Like,
well, there's another sort of like business that I sort of threw in the towel on, is like, but like personal coaching stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that I'm developed enough to start that up, but that would play hand in hand. Cause I have like gone down the lifestyle route and the brain science route. And like I've done a whole lot of reflecting, but I sort of like building an audience for that side of a different business it's just different. Like I can drive a car and film it. I can take apart an engine and film it. But if you want me to like stand in the trees and talk about positivity, it's a little different, So
no, but what is the reason that you do all of this? Like, how did you get started in it? Like, so, it did something for you. There's a reason that you developed this passion for it, right? So what was it that got you into doing that? Was it like, did it keep you out of trouble as a kid, or, something like that? Like, that's literally as basic as it has to be. You don't have to be a professional to go and talk to people about how something changed your life. We're talking about it right now. Like I'm not a pro. You guys know way more than me in the drift scene. Like I know a little bit, but it's really inspiring when you share your story. And I think that that's a big thing. And even if you're not doing it like, as like a separate company or whatever, doing like being a coach for these people, especially like Catherine was saying, my thought immediately went to 19-year-old me who had no idea what I was going to do in life. And I was just like, yeah, like I don't really know, but I'm showing up to the car scene. I didn't know if I wanted to drag race or drift or whatever. I couldn't afford any of it, but you know, I needed somebody who could kind of mentor me. And that's exactly what my thought was too, was like, okay, so why did you get into it? And then you can just tell that story, and that story resonates with people, especially somebody who's young. That really helps them, you know, keep, and like she said, it kind of keeps them from other things. It could keep them from drugs. It could keep them from, you know, who knows what kind of lifestyle. But that right there is really inspiring. So when you figure out what your story is, why you started doing what you do, then that's going to elevate you guys to a whole new level.
I'm going to let you sit with that for a hot second, but there's a really interesting stigma that's been going on. I actually just had a stunt woman message me, a Harley Davidson stunt woman, and she was like, I don't think this can work for me. And I was like, well, why not? And she goes, because I built my brand off of illegal stuff, but I want to help women get more confident, and those two clash. Like, I can't keep my brand and the people I have because I started doing illegal stuff, and that's how I built my following, to wanting to grow the industry with women in a respectable business. And I was like, you can do both. Like, you can literally just go to Harley. That's Harley Davidson's whole thing. Just go to Harley Davidson, have them shut down a street, and you can film it. Like that Street Outlaws. I was there road racing when they filmed their whole like Minnesota street racing scene. I'm like, this is phony. They're in a closed track with street lights. Like, it's not outlaw racing. It's a racetrack. Like, this is whack. You know, so you can still have that like grungy racer vibe, but still provide a safe space. And it's not like, for some reason, everything in racing comes back to like drugs and being illegal and being like, but it's interesting when you actually get in the community, because there's two sides of it, right? There's that part of it, and then there's the people who did it, and they're like, no, that's bad. Like, don't do that. So being able to speak on both sides is kind of cool and a good way to grow it, you know?
You know, up until the point where Angel said that, I was thinking about myself 5-10 years ago, but I wasn't thinking about what I was doing 5-10 years ago, and what, you know, people I was around and the parties I was going to and stuff, rather than, you know, I'd be riding, like she said, to car meets in the back seat of a race, like somebody's tuned out Eclipse, and going in the middle of the night, and I'd be drunk in the back seat thinking, man, I'd love to have a car like this. You know, that's great.
Yeah.
I never like put that whole twist on it. That whole perspective really shook me up a little bit. What about you? You think back that far?
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff back then.
Right.
For sure.
A lot of street racing, a lot of like drinking, just going places.
And
of
even like you know, you guys are talking about drinking. That was something that I did a lot when I was younger too. First of all, it was illegal. But second of all, think about how much money we put into drinking when we were that age. And if we had somebody tell us, dude, look at how much you're spending and look at how much you could be putting into your car. Like you said, you put $500 away. Like that's putting you to where you need to be. And you could easily spend that much in alcohol in like 2 weekends. So like, and then it becomes, all right, somebody has to put that in your face though. When you're 19 years old, you know how it is. Nobody wants to, you don't want to listen to anybody say anything. But when it's the dude who actually has the cool car and does the thing that you want to do, you're more apt to listen to them because you want to get to that point. So I think that you guys are really, really close to where you want to be.
Yeah, and think about this too. I don't know about you guys, but I know, like, I got the opportunity to start when I was 19, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I dinked around until I hit 23. And then I was like, oh, I want to do dirt bikes. And then just this past year, I was like, oh, I actually want to do hard enduro. And I started like way too late. And I mean, there's never a wrong time to start, right? You can still go pro at 20 something. But like, if they had the ability to start right in the right space with the right mentors to build the right stuff to set them up for success, can you imagine how much bigger and better our sport and industry would be?
Or
So
imagine if we had the opportunities that we have now 10 years ago, where we would be now.
yeah, exactly. So you can even speak on that point too. You know, it's not just like, hey, listen, like I'm doing this because I want it to grow. You can be like, hey, listen, I'm doing this because I know that I missed opportunities, and I'm not saying that I'm not where I want to be right now, but I want to make sure that you have the best opportunities to go forward. You know, I when I worked with Kevin, Kevin got a lot of hate because he only had 3 practice days and 1 race under his belt when he got a factory team deal. He signed a factory team with 1 race and 3 practice days. And everybody hated him because they were like, he's the new kid. He didn't put any blood, sweat, and tears into this. Like, he doesn't deserve it. You know, that kind of stuff. But I don't think that just because you suffered doesn't mean that the next generation should. Like, we suffered so that they can have different suffering, basically. Yeah. So it's constantly progressing towards something better, something bigger. It makes it easier for them to get into the sport.
Yeah, I say I grew up. We raced dirt bikes a little bit right after high school, and I didn't even know there were sponsorships or factory riders. You know,
Yeah.
like, there was like mentoring me. You know, speaking about all that.
Now my boss at work rides dirt bikes. He's got a 125, and he's talking about getting back on a 250 soon. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to just like pick up one sponsor and have that $5,000 be your tires for each year? Or, you know, like you could have one partner and still work your 40 hours a week, but be able to grab that much more seat time on the seat, you know, prep time. And I'm like already changing people's perspective around me a little bit. Like, think about this. Like, you know, your girlfriend's a marketing manager at a ski resort. Like, and they have off-road courses. You know, I'm trying to get his wheels turning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about perspective. And the cool thing is if nobody tells you, then you don't know that there's a different perspective from what you already have. So, and that's that. To bring it all back around, I feel like we kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but it was good, right? It was a good tangent.
Always good.
Cool. To kind of bring it all back around is like, in order to have a clear understanding of like what your end goal for the thing that you want to do is, one of the things I talk about a lot with my group coaching students, it's called a value ladder. Because so Zach's big whole thing is he wants Carolina dirt bike rentals. He wants to have adventure tours. He wants to have family tours. He wants to have events. He wants to have all of these things. But the problem is he has all of these things and he doesn't like know where to start because he has all of these things. So we work backwards. So you have this idea. You want to do like a mentorship program that helps, that shows people how to get started in drifting for $3,000. And you want to, and through that program, you know, you kind of mentor them, give them the skills to be independent, start a trade, whatever. So that's like the end goal. So then you work backwards, right? What's the like goal? Like, what does that look like? Like, is it a membership site with a community, with an online course, with resources, mentors? Like, what all happens inside of that? That's like the last step. And then back it up a step is like workshops, or maybe even a live event, like a live event where everybody would come to you guys and you could host like ride a little bit, classroom, like talk about some things. And then you have like a build a car day where you just all collectively come together to build a car. That could be really cool, like a really cool scene to have. And then you back it up another step, and then you have just an online workshop where you guys can build a car and you can like show it on the computer and be like, this is how you do this thing. Like follow along. And then the next step after that, or below that, is getting them started with a free guide. kind of see the back pedals of like, and that's how you build up to the thing that you want. Maybe, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Well, I was just stuck. My brain was stuck on the word activations as you were talking.
Yeah, exactly. And then because now you have that ladder, it's called a value ladder. You can talk to sponsors when you're not at those levels yet. And you can say, hey, listen, 2 years from now, we're going to do this thing right here. We're going to do an in-person event, 3-day. One of the days is going to be a build a car day. We're going to have 3 cars and there's going to be like 4 teams. We're going to document the whole thing. And it's just going to be giving people experience and the ability to like practice welding and all this stuff. And then they're going to go race together. It's like a really awesome engineering workshop at college. Like, I just think of that when we had little RC car competitions and stuff. And you could be like, I want to build this relationship now before we get there, because I want you to come along with the story so that the people who do come to the workshop are invested in you as much as us and the success of the whole deal. That kind of makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we have that kind of goal later down in life, in this project. Cool.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you're talking about, kind of, right? The workshops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's this really cool thing that not a lot of people think about, and I've seen it in a lot of different examples. One of the examples I like to use is that I really like flowers. I'm a girl. I like flowers. As much as I love dirt bikes and mud and all that stuff, I really like flowers, and I really genuinely want a garden. But I don't know about you, but flowers are really expensive, and being able to maintain a garden is really, really, really expensive. But the government currently has a program going on where they pay you to build a bee garden or a pollinator garden. So you go get the money from the government to build the pollinator garden. Well, now that you have this pollinator garden, you have a ton of bees flying around. The government pays you to build bee houses. So you go build a bee house. Now you have honey on your property. Now you can take that honey and you can go sell it. And I just paid for my garden, the bees, and now I'm making a profit and I didn't pay for anything. There's another thing going on. I just studied this in marketing. I was just in a podcasting class where the guy was talking about one of the things he does is he builds his brand by interviewing really high-end industry professionals. He brings in like Tony Robbins, he brings in Gary Vaynerchuk, all of these like crazy, super popular people, and he just started his podcast. He doesn't have any numbers on his podcast. And they're like, well, how did you get Tony Robbins on your podcast when you only have 20 followers? And he goes, well, I guaranteed 1 million views within 7 days. And I guaranteed 1 million views within 7 days by boosting that post on Facebook. And nobody can say they can guarantee 1 million views. Well, I don't know about you, but boosting posts costs like $3,000 to get 1 million views. But I went over to Entrepreneur's World and I said, hey, I'm going to have Tony Robbins on my podcast with a guaranteed 1 million views. Do you want an ad in that podcast to Tony Robbins' audience? And they said, yeah. And they wrote him an $80,000 check. So he made 70 grand on an interview with Tony Robbins by getting the interview first, guaranteeing something, and then going to somebody that wanted that audience. And so how that kind of pans out is like, have the thing, like build out the thing, build out the in-person workshop that you really, really, really want to have. Say, this is happening in 2 years. This is what we're going to do to make it a success. Do you want in on that? And they'll be like, yeah, of course I do. That's brilliant. And you go, cool. And then they pay you to make that thing happen. And then you pay entry. Like, people have to pay to come to your event because it costs money to help people, unfortunately. So then you say, for $500, come to a 3-day, 4-night drift rally education event, something. I don't know. Build your own car. You're going to race it. We're going to teach you how to race it. We're going to give you the skills to be able to work on your own car, and we're going to teach you about marketing. And then you can even have guest people come in from those companies. Like, that is something that I would want to come to. I'd be like, yeah, please invite me to that event, and I will do a live speaking event engagement for like 2 hours on motorsports marketing and sponsorship, because that gives me the ability to sell to your audience. Just like it would be beneficial to have Tony Robbins come in and be a life coach, or Eric Thomas, because he can speak on being a kid on the street and becoming a successful person. And you can get, I don't know a good welder, but you could have a welder come in and talk about fabrication, and demonstrate a lathe machine or something along those lines. And every single one of those things benefits your audience. You're doing it for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Huh. That's cool. I'm thinking as you're talking about like our partnership with the event organizers, and even before we own our own land and stuff, we'll be able to work with them, maybe have the day before the actual racing and have like a little clinic and have, anybody that wants to that's racing this weekend come, and for, if you're entered in the race, it'll be a discount. And
Yeah.
so that's great. And we can show them, a little bit of the basics, a little bit of car control and swinging the weight around so that they'll be safer. Maybe they won't wreck their rig while they're out there.
Yeah.
And they'll be more competitive. So then for us, we'll have better competition, and everybody likes a good competition. So yeah. And so, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. You got my wheels turning again.
That's a great place to start is clinics. And I always say my selfish reason for like teaching sponsorship and stuff is well, I want more people to ride with on the weekend. And I think it's really important to have a selfish reason, because people are always like, well, what's the catch? It's like my big evil plan is that I want more people racing. It's the end of the world. Like your big evil plan is you want more competition because it makes the races more fun, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Angel, what's your big evil plan? What's your world domination plan? She's panically trying to find the unmute button while she's driving.
Sorry. My big evil plan is it's not really a big evil plan, but I want to be like a role model for Hispanic girls in motorsports. Well, specifically in dirt biking, because there's nobody who looks like me who rides. I've never seen anybody look like me who rides. So that's what I want to be able to get girls from the hood that I grew up in, essentially, and have them get into riding. So, it can be as simple as that.
Big evil plan.
And well, yours, I mean, I've been hearing you say that your selfish plan is to have more people to ride with, even during the week. I've heard you say, like, that'd be great to go out and hit trails with people in our Subarus on a Tuesday or something. But that's, I think, sort of where our mission sort of is a little selfish too, is we just want the communities there. Like there's hardly any local events. That event, April 13th, is 4.5 hours away. So, I mean, but this year it's supposed to pick back up in our area, but it's one of those things where without a couple people really driving it, I think that it just wouldn't happen. And that's where I think there's a huge like niche for us to dive into and try to, sort of take the reins, even if just a little bit, just to get it back to this area. So, the guy down the street with an off-road vehicle doesn't have to drive or think about driving 4.5 hours to race with us. We'd rather have it be 20 minutes away or something, to where you don't even have to worry about towing it home if you mess up your stuff on the way or on the weekend.
Yeah. And I'm gonna wrap up this is probably where I'm gonna end the podcast, but I'm gonna wrap it all up with one solid statement. It costs money to be able to run those events, which means if you want to help your community and help grow the sport, especially in the area that you're in, you unfortunately also need to charge people money. So I just want to reiterate, like when you go forth and talk about this endeavor, it's great to help people. It really is to help people for free and to be able to like give them all of the resources in the world. But you really need to understand that if you want to grow your sport, you have to get money. You have to get paid to deliver the services that you do. And that's something that you should reiterate to your sponsors. One of the questions you sent me was like, how do I convert the sponsors I currently have that are paying us discounts or giving us discounts and we're paying them money? Like, how do I convert them to paying sponsors? Honestly, message your contact, whoever it is inside of that company, because usually they give you an agent or a rep or somebody to talk to. Message them and be like, hey, our plans have changed. We're really looking at hosting events here. I would love to sit down and talk about if there's a way that we could work together to get those events running. And then during that conversation, ask them what their goals are. Ask them what they want. Is it awareness? Is it education? Is it they just want to inspire people? They just want to be the brand awareness. They need more leads, like whatever it is. And then you can sprinkle that into your game plan, right? So sometimes the exchange isn't so much like I don't come and publicly speak or do one-on-ones unless I get paid. But for your event, you would say, Catherine, I can't pay you. And I'd say, okay, but can I sell my coaching program at your event? And if you say yes, I would evaluate and be like, well, usually I have a closing rate of 15 to 20%. If there's 100 people there and it's a $1,500 program, then I can usually average about $6,000 worth of sales. Like, deal. Like, I'll come out, sure. So it's not always, if for some reason you can't, like they say, no, you got to pay us, try and figure out different ways to leverage what you already have going for you. Don't just like take no money. It's like, okay, what else can we leverage? Is there a research and development budget? Is there a sales budget? Do they need to network with other brands? That's a good one too. Like, I'm a clinic business. You're an education and motorsport business. You'll probably have a fabricator there. Does whoever your welding company that you want to go to, does that fabricator run his own shop? Does he need an exclusivity deal? So you can network business to business through your events too. It's not just you to a single individual. There's so many different routes within sponsorship and activations that you can finagle with.
I've heard you say time and time again that business to business is where the big money is, and communications is where the big money is. And we've been sort of trying to wrap our head around it. And until you gave me that example, I was sort of still in the dark about it. I'd say pretty good. And that makes total sense now. We're networking industry professionals to industry solutions, and that's where business comes into play.
Yeah. This is a good example that I found works really well with a lot of people. When I was first starting in sponsorship, I originally started with, my very first sponsor was a vinyl wrapping company. And I came to him and I was like, this is perfect. You're going to wrap my motorcycle. It's going to look great. I'm going to win. And people are going to be like, dang, your motorcycle looks so good. Where did you get that wrap? And I'm like, you just go here. And then they would obviously all buy the wrap from him. Like, that was what I told him. And he's like, Catherine, I hate motorcycles. Like, I hate them. There's so many curves. There's so many angles. Like, you got to know what you're doing. And I don't make any money off of it. Like, I make money selling fleets of vehicles. So how are you going to get me fleets of vehicles? And my response was like, I don't know, but some of the racers at the racetrack are like business owners and tradesmen. I bet you they have work vehicles. And he said, okay. And so he came to the racetrack with me and he didn't see me race once. He didn't know how I did. He didn't even know that I made it on the radio. Like, didn't know that I got an interview or any of that stuff. He was too busy talking to everybody. And then after that experience, he told me, Catherine, you got to go talk to, I even forget the company and I feel really bad, but he told me to go talk to this soap company. They own Simple Green. So I went over there and I was like, hey, I want to put your soap in my power washer and I want to have the power washer set up so that people can like test out your soap, see how well it cleans the bikes. And then, because after some of the races, we go through salt fields. Then you have to clean that off like right away. Otherwise, your whole machine's going to rust out and all your seals are going to be blown and it's going to suck. And they're like, no, we literally don't sell anything to consumers. We don't have a consumer bottle. We sell it to distributors. They put it in a consumer bottle and they sell consumer. Like, we don't want that. And I was like, okay, who do I know that can handle large quantities of cleaning soap? And I was like, the gas station. I know the owner of the gas station down the street. What if we put your cleaner in their car wash? And they're like, yeah, we want that. Can we do like an exclusivity for that? So I networked the soap company to the gas station. I didn't handle anything with the deal. All I said was, hey, here are the two numbers. You call them, they call you. You do whatever you guys do. That's not my business anymore. So like, different ways to think about that too.
That makes it sound like no work at all.
It's exactly. I mean, the thing they're paying you for is your 10 years worth of industry experience.
Knowing what people need.
Yeah, because you know the people that you know, and they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
Well, Like, for me, Angel is invaluable to me. Do you know why Angel's invaluable to me?
No.
Angel knows Eli Tomac's manager. Angel knows somebody who I sent Angel a message because Lionel Messi just signed the sponsorship deal. He turned down $1.6 billion in exchange for $150 million. But there were so many inner workings that happened in that deal. I just geeked out about it. Like there's not enough time to be able to talk about it. But it was so cool. I'm writing it in the book, and I texted her and I was like, Angel, I need an interview with Lionel Messi. And 10 minutes later, she sent me a message back and she goes, here's his agent's contact.
I do what I can.
Angel is invaluable to me. And that's one of the benefits that we offer even our clinic students. Like we have a whole thing that's like, hey, if you come take our clinics, you have the option to enroll in. There's only 6 spots. You can enroll in for $297 a month. You can have every single person on our team's phone number, but only for like the months that you're enrolled in. And you can message us once a week or jump on a 1-hour call with us once a week and figure out what it is that you need for each person. Sam is the mechanic, the R&D expert, and builds everything. So if they're having issues with their toy hauler, something blew up on their truck, if they need things in their bike, Sam's the man to call. If they need welding advice, fabricating advice, it's all Sam. If they need mindset stuff, they call Nick, or racecraft stuff, they call Nick. If they need marketing stuff, they call me. If they need networking or nutrition, they call Angel. Like, so there's so many different ways to position yourselves to be able to help your community and still like offer reasonable pricing, you know, because you want it to be affordable to them, but you need money in order to help people.
So we can restructure our entire program to be more based around like that. Dylan is a photographer and he does some film work. Christian music, and he does, you know, he's
media.
Yeah, a lot of like digital media and stuff. And then our other guy that we know, he does like street racing and drag racing and stuff, where if anybody asked us about a street car, we'd be able to send them that way. And yeah, that's so that we can actually restructure Get Torqued to be more of a consulting, like, motorsports consult group.
I call it the hardcore mentorship is what I call it.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes consulting. Everybody assumes consulting is expensive. So I just call it the hardcore mentorship. And then I say the level below that I call apprenticeship. So I have a forum that everybody goes to for just $97 a month. There's a forum where they can upload video questions or regular questions, and it just goes to a bulk community. And like, we'll see it, but it's not as in depth like this. You know, like this is what I would consider hardcore. For $297 a month, you can have once a week meetings with any of us and like sit down and have these kinds of conversations. And along with an online course and a bunch of other stuff. But it all comes down to like being able to provide that value and understanding that these things are helpful and beneficial. And it's not you selling something, it's you helping. You are helping.
Yeah.
And you're growing the industry, and people will recognize that and they'll flock to it and they'll love it.
That's even since we started the community, it's crazy the people that, like I said earlier, reach out and ask how and why and where. You know, the 5 W's or what I think that's what you called them like years ago, is that's the why.
Yep. And I would consider every time you get one of those messages, I would just send back like, hey, we're working on a free guide. Do you want me to add you to the early bird list or whatever, the notification list? And then you can build out your email list, because YouTube can take away your videos at any point in time. Instagram can take away your videos at any point in time. Same thing with Facebook. Like, you can lose all of those platforms, but you can't lose your email list as long as you continue to export it. As long as you continue to like have it saved somewhere else in like an Excel sheet, you can't lose it, because you can get kicked out of email providers, which does suck. Gmail can take your account away. So as long as you keep your list. When I did it by hand, I used to just have 10 people that I would message. Now I have like 1,000 some odd. So I actually have a CRM now. But I used to do it just by hand. I would have a newsletter, and I like built this beautiful document, and I was like, we released these videos this week and we're talking about these things, like join this weekly, just do a weekly live and talk about something and just start documenting your process of building the business, building the car, building everything that you're doing, and people will flock to it and they'll love it. And then when you finally say, like, we are so excited to announce that we have a membership site for mentorship. Like if you want to do this for yourself, it's just $37 a month, $97 a month, $297. It doesn't matter. But then people will be like, yes, just like you provided so much value. They're like, yes, I finally get an opportunity to pay you something. Like, yes, please.
That's
And
wild.
that seems really crazy, but like, so all of this, just to give you some context on this, all of this, Catherine started this company, and I was just like, we were friends, right? And I was just like her cheerleader, and I was like super excited. And then she actually like started doing the clinics, and I was like, here's something that I can give you the money. Like I think I was the first person to sign up for her clinics. And I signed up for like 3 of them right away. And I was just like, here, take my money because you deserve this. Like, because of like everything that she had given me for free before that, like I was like, this is my opportunity to pay it back. Like that's what it feels like just like you, Jake, like you've been doing the same thing, you know, you're like, yes, I can pay you. And I think the first thing that you did was maybe $7, but it, you know, it's that good feeling to be able to give back to that person who's really inspired you, and that's what you need to build now. So excuse me.
Yeah, I've been like modeling our future business endeavors sort of around like the clinic-based stuff, and never really thought about the whole round bigger picture of all the help that we can offer, really.
Yeah. And that's the thing, especially when it comes to sponsorship. It's the same thing I talk about, is that what you see isn't everything. Like you can only see so much until there's Russell Brunson has this saying, and I love it. He goes, I attended this event. It was a seminar. This guy he was going on about all of these statistics and things like, this is exactly how I made $100 million in one day through this sales funnel. And he looked around the room and everybody was like, look at this sales funnel. He's giving us this. I can't believe he's giving us this. I'm going to make it better. And the guy stopped in the middle of the room and he goes, we've spent $3 billion testing this and it made $100 million in a day. And you are thinking about changing it. Like, why? And the thing is they would have never known all of the stuff behind it if they hadn't been a good entrepreneur and pulled out their wallet and paid for it. Otherwise, they would have just seen the first screen. They would have just seen, we're pricing one bottle at $24.95 and we're pricing 3 bottles at $17.99 a bottle. That's all they saw. They wouldn't have known that there was upsells and downsells and consulting calls and like all of these other things on the back end if they had never paid the initial thing to figure out what's happening on the other side of the screen. And it's the same thing with sponsorship. Like all we see are the logos, all we see are the shout outs and the exposure. But what we don't see on the other end of those deals is the networking, is the audience, is the storytelling that happens with the people. You know, that's why we get those, oh, you're only saying good things about it because you got paid. It's because you didn't tell a story about it. You're just promoting an object instead of actually like integrating it into your brand.
Yeah, that's interesting too. You don't think about that. You see the rig and you see that they got 3 backup bikes with them at the track and they're running flat. Like, why would you need backup bikes for flat track?
Because you need backup bikes for flat track. That's why.
Right.
As somebody who's raced flat track, I can tell you need backup bikes.
We do go spectate there's a hare scramble that's like, it's just a big kidney shaped track and it comes over a crest into a hairpin. And yeah, it's crazy to see some of the rigs, and then there'll be like 14-year-olds with nicer stuff than I've ever had, you know, and it's like, hey, and then you see the logo, like you said, but all you see is the logo. You don't see the fact that it took them, you know, 7 points of contact to even get an answer. Or like 80% are signed on the 5th to 12th point of contact. Like,
yeah,
you don't realize that until you really break it down and start to learn about it. And that's, yeah, I think we froze. We had to pause you when you were explaining about the 5 to 12 points of contact before you usually sign anything. So we're like banking on the whole like email, call, email, call. Yeah, like the whole scheme to get it cranking. And that's where we've been sort of beating on each other, like, we need to start this week, and then I found out about surveys, and I'm like, wait, are we really ready? Are we? I mean, no better time than now, right? But
I think you guys, it's a lot of information to grasp, but I think you guys have done really well on getting it from the free stuff. You know, like you said, there's a lot of things that we've been able to kind of clarify for you, that, you know, it does take that extra bit. And Catherine's providing all these resources, and it's amazing. And, you know, sometimes people can look at that and they can just put it all together and then boom, they're, you know, doing it. But, you know, I don't have a direct statistic, but it's probably somewhere like 60% need that extra help, need help figuring out their program, or, you know, their audience or whatever, and really defining those things. And so that's what, you know, that's where she says, you know, it costs money to help people, but you definitely sometimes need that to have these conversations in person. Because I know that for me, I've been going through this journey on these podcasts. I've learned everything on these podcasts. You guys watched me learning from ground zero. And it's been like, what, 2-3 months now? And I literally call Catherine all the time, and I'm like, so I'm thinking in activations again. And I'm like, everything in my life is like, I'm thinking about activations now. Like, it's so funny. Like, but you'll start to see it now that you've connected those dots. You're going to start looking at everything in your entire world, and you're going to be like, oh, hey, what about that? And so, like, really the possibilities are endless, and it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's so cool, because then you start to see how doable your goals really are.
Yeah.
Doable everything is. Yeah. Huh. That's wild.
I just have to say, like, it's really cool, like, being able to see you guys, and like, you guys, like, I can see it. You guys are like putting the stuff together. Like, I can see it on your faces. It's really cool to watch.
Yeah, we take lots of notes.
And I think in one of my messages recently, I said to Catherine, like, how obsessed I've been lately too. And like you said, you start seeing it everywhere you look is like another opportunity. And that's exactly what it needs to become, another opportunity, because you're going to see thousands of no's before you see any more yeses, usually, unless you, well, maybe get lucky, but you know, we take luck out of the equation. We're trained now.
Yeah. Dang, that's a great saying.
I just saw the
I love that.
time though. Holy cow, I didn't realize. You said 1 p.m. at the latest.
Yeah. I was actually just going to move it into questions. So I went through your survey, if you want to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Let me pull up the message you sent. Scratch that. Do you have any direct questions, I guess, about kind of what you're doing, about some of the content that I've made, how it applies to you based off of the conversation that we've been having, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, the only main thing I had was when we span out to hit all 7 branches like that, we only want to hit one at a time, right?
Correct. Yeah. Don't spam the whole company. Zach had this problem. Don't spam the whole company at once, because they're all going to get in a meeting together and they're going to talk about it. And then they're going to send you an email that says, please don't ever contact us again. Yeah. So you start with one person, and then you email them those 3 times. And at the end of the 3rd one, you ask for that referral, in case they're not the right person to be talking to. And usually they can guide you one way or another. But if you get all the way to the end of the 7, then wait another week and then move on to the next person, but also be messaging different companies at the same time. And that's one of the things that Zach ran into, is he was talking to 511 and he waited like 3 months for them before he moved on to US Patriot. And it's like he missed a really good window to be talking to US Patriots. They just launched a new line and they did a whole bunch of really cool stuff because he was too busy only messaging 511. So it's important to be talking to multiple companies, but only one person, one department at a time inside of those companies.
That's what we think is pretty cool about us being two people at the head of this. And then we have some like little workers. I don't know if they trust the system yet, but we can have multiple points of contact. We sound that much more official too. If we like, we were talking about it. We don't want to pass people around too much because then it sounds like I met Steve, who's Jake, but we have talked about like he can hit a few brands and I can hit a few brands and we can sort of, just work together towards it. And we started off choosing 3 to start. So we think that won't be too overwhelming to start us off. It's just target 3 brands.
Until we get more comfortable.
Right. Until we figure out
absolutely. You guys are going to laugh at me. So I saw this thing and I actually think it's a really brilliant thing to be doing, where every time you go get a cup of coffee, you need to ask the barista if you can have 10% off. Every time you go to get a cup of coffee, just ask the lady at the cash register or the guy at the cash register. Just ask them, hey, can I get 10% off of my coffee? And they're going to be like, why? And you'll be like, I don't know. I just felt like asking. And they'll be like, no. And that's to get you accustomed to like awkwardly just throwing out, like I guarantee you the first time you do it, you're going to be like shaking and you're going to get sweaty and you're going to be like, oh my God, can I please have 10% off of my coffee? And they're going to be like, no. And you're going to be like, oh, cool. And then you're just going to pay the normal amount for the coffee and it's going to be okay. Like the world's not going to collapse. It's awesome. And you do that and it gets you accustomed to like leading off with a question that might seem uncomfortable and then just being cool with the fact that they said no. And sometimes they'll actually say yes, so it's that whole, like, it's the same thing with sponsorship, right? You lead off with, hey, can I get 10 grand? I mean, you're not going to actually lead off with 10 grand. They're going to tell you how much they're going to pay you, but it's the same concept, right? You got to throw that question out there and it's weird and uncomfortable and people freak out about it. And it's not that scary. But I can only say it's not that scary because I've done it enough times that it's not that scary anymore. And if you go after a sponsor that you really want to work with and they genuinely want to work with you, you guys have to talk about money. And everybody gets weird about talking about money. I did it with one of my students that enrolled in the group coaching program. They're like, Catherine, we can't really afford your program. And I go, okay, are you open and willing to have an honest and transparent conversation about money? And they, you could see them shuffle a little bit and they were like, okay. And I was like, cool. How much do you have in your checking? How much do you have in your savings? What's your credit card limit? And what are your current expenses? And you could see they like really didn't want to talk about it, but they told me because I didn't want to take all of their money. I genuinely wanted to see where they were at and see if we could figure out like what they could do the best with their money. That was available to them. I would offer, I wouldn't do payment plans, but I would say, okay, I don't want to take all of your money. What if we did one month at this amount of money? Or like, what if we hashed out, like, this might not be the program for you, but this is in your range, instead of giving them the power to be like, I just don't have the money. You can be like, you don't have the money where? Or that's expensive compared to what is one of my favorite, like, oh, you want 10 grand for that? That's too expensive. Too expensive compared to what? Because I just paid 12 grand to host an event. And I am me and the 3 brothers back there, like 10, and we're a 5-person business that has 0 revenue right now. And we paid 12 grand. Like, expensive is not an objection. It's a uncertainty based objection where it's just like, oh, it's too expensive. So you have to challenge it if you genuinely want the deal and you think it's the best for your audience, because it's your duty to bring your audience the best resources possible. And when you lead off with that kind of confidence, then the sponsors can read that and your audience will appreciate you and love you for bringing them those resources. And it's not about you anymore. Dude, that's the cool thing. You don't feel like a charity. You don't feel like you're begging. You're like, listen, my people really need this. Like, expensive compared to what? Because they're paying like 3 grand to come here. So the least you could do is pay 10 grand to be able to sell your stuff to them. You know, something different perspectives. You have to get comfortable asking funky questions.
Got to get comfortable outside of our comfort zones.
Yep. Push it a little bit.
Right.
Every time you go to O'Reilly's to get car parts, ask them for 10% off.
Right. Yeah.
And they're going to be like, why? And they're going to be like, because I buy a lot of stuff from you. Why not?
Your day.
Every time you go in there, every single time, I dare you, I challenge you, document it, record it. Every time you go in there, be like, hey, can I get 10% off? No. Cool. Thanks. And then you pay them anyway and you take your stuff and you leave. Hey, can I get 10% off? Why do you keep asking? Because why not? And then you pay for your stuff and you leave. Like, it's good practice.
Easier to go and talk to businesses. That's like one of the major things holding us back sometimes is like the thought of just walking in somewhere, or like I sent you a message the one day and said like we have a joke going about when somebody actually answers the phone and we're like hang up like we were expecting to leave a weird quirky voicemail.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we're getting, and we're finally ready. I think and if we're not ready, we'll be calling you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot in the book that you guys are talking about writing is like racer resumes, pitch decks, business cases, all of that stuff is just a way for us to hide because we're scared. And it's easier for us to get a rejection from a piece of paper than it is for us to sit in front of somebody and for them to tell us no. So you got to practice getting those rejections in zero consequence situations, like asking the guy at the car parts counter for a discount.
That totally makes sense. I love it. I'm excited.
Yeah. Get all right.
Can ask any brands.
And then if he gives you 10%, ask for 20. Just up it.
Yeah.
Challenge him. Angel?
Yes.
Oh, you just unmuted yourself, so I figured you had something to say.
Oh, no, I hit the button. Sorry.
Okay.
Technology, remember? I'm really good at it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So, okay, let's talk about this survey real quick. So, when are you sending out this survey? Because at the end, I noticed you said something about a workshop. So yeah. What's the dealio with this? Oh, you said it was a template. That's right. I'm sorry.
The generic template that I whipped together this morning. And yeah, I'll have to go through and edit now that you said that. But
yep. So the first off is like, so you're sending this out and you're going to say, hey friend, if you get a couple minutes to blast through something, this would benefit us way more than you know. And I'm adding everyone who fills it out to our giveaway list as extra entries. I'm going to send you a thing that I tag on the front of every single post that I make. It says something like, hey internet, we really need your help and opinions as we try and figure out, like, this is what we want to do with our program. We're trying to build out a quality education-based program for drift racers who are on a budget. Like, just lead off with, we're trying to figure out, like, what you guys need and want from the industry so that we can build out the best program possible. None of these questions are going to be required. Some of them are awkward. Don't answer them if you feel uncomfortable answering them. And if you have any questions about them, please let us know. Thank you so much. These are real questions we get asked in sponsor negotiations. So if you could answer as many of them as possible, we would really appreciate that. Have a stellar rest of your day. P.S. If you fill this out, you'll get extra giveaway entries. Something along those lines. So then the rest of your message says, first off, is that a decent way to present it? Just enter that. You're targeting 3 main brands down the road. Can I cut all the generic BS questions and just get to the meat and bones that help us leverage the companies we're working on? So let's talk about survey structures. Did you listen to that survey podcast yet?
I'm at it, actually. I got to it yesterday and I was about to, and then, so we didn't quite get there.
Okay, let me pull it up. Survey forms.
Yeah, it was in I think it's episode 5 where it's point 1 and point 2 where you split it into 2, and the second half is all survey stuff.
Yeah, probably. That sounds about right.
Long enough. I wish I knew.
I know they weren't long enough already. I keep telling everybody that I'm going to make them 10. They're going to be 10-minute podcasts, and every time I do them, it's an hour long, and I can't help it.
It's still great information. Like I said, I love some of the stories you're telling. And when is that knockout event?
That's going to be late August.
Okay, so you still have some preparation to do for that, huh?
Yeah. It's about to go up when Angel comes out. So Angel's actually on her way here to California right now. She's going to be here for a week and a half before we go out to North Carolina. And that week and a half is just going to be Catherine doing cool enduro shit when her bike gets put back together for media for that whole thing. And then we're going to be in Brushy Mountain out in North Carolina, and we're going to do some hard enduro filming, which I'm a little nervous for. But one of the ladies that I'm going to be racing TKO with is going to be there. So it's like a scoping it out kind of deal. I'm coming for you, Sammy. I know you listen to this, but I got to know how you ride. So that'll be fun. And then once we hit the road, it'll be nonstop training. Okay. So let's talk about surveys. So this is that call to action thing I was talking about. Like, thank you for taking the time to complete this survey. These are questions I get asked in direct sponsor conversations, and I need this information to find the right sponsors for the challenge. Please note that this survey is 100% anonymous, no name, no phone number, email, etc. Info isn't necessary, and none of these questions are required in order to complete the survey. There's a question listed below that you are not comfortable answering or that doesn't apply to you. Skip it, move on. Thanks so much. It means the world to me. You can say means the world to us, insert your own kind of language in there. But the reason we don't make them mandatory is because we are collecting consumer information, and you are bound to get somebody that responds with, oh, this is a scam, you're selling our information, like, and it's like, yeah, we're not, but thank you. And so that gives you the leverage to respond with, hey, I understand that these questions are awkward and weird and uncomfortable. You don't have to answer any of the ones that you don't want to answer. But this is real, genuine information that we get asked and would really appreciate if you could take the time to fill this out. And every single time I've responded with this literal exact, I'll just copy and paste this, and I respond on Facebook comments with that, and they'll be like, oh, got it. And then they'll fill out the survey, and it's awesome. So the first question that I ask, so how I structure this is I put the very most important questions that I want the answers to first.
Okay.
And all of those BS stuff that you say, the BS questions, I put those at the end because they're not as important. They're helpful, but they're not as important. And because after the first page, each page that your survey goes through, your audience, you're likely to lose at least 15 to 20% of your audience every page. So the questions that you have the highest value on, put first. So for me, the questions that I have the highest value in is, how do you know Catherine? She coached me, raced with me, rode with her at some point, social media. Haven't ridden with her yet, but would like to. Haven't taken a clinic with her yet and would like to. The reason I do this is because each one of these questions is a property that I host. The people I coach are different than the people I race with, who are different from the people that I trail ride with, who are different from the people I talk to on social media. So I want to understand the demographics of each one of my properties because I can sell each one of these independently to different sponsors. I can bring my clinics to different sponsors than my TKO racing. And then I can like bundle them together and do all different kinds of cool stuff with that. So then the next most important question is, if a company sponsors your event, property, thing, whatever, are you more likely to consider their product or service for future purchases, assuming price and quality are the same? Everyone and their mom is going to say yes or maybe. The only people who say no are trolls, and we don't care about their responses anyway. But being able to have the number that says 100% of our audience or 98% of our audience will support a brand that sponsors this thing is a powerful statistic to be able to pull out of your back pocket. And then in the past 6 months, which are the following hobbies have you participated in? I know you watched the thing where I talked about like how you find your audiences. the different companies you reach out to, where the very center of the target is survey. And then as you build out, it's like the cross brands and then the magazines that they promote in, and then all of their competitors. Do you remember that lesson?
Yeah.
Cool. So that all happens in here. And then I ask them what magazines do they read so that I can target who advertises inside of those magazines for sponsorship, because I can be like, and I said read, not part of a subscription that you just throw away. Because one of my selling points to the sponsors inside of the AMA was like, listen, this many people are subscribed to this magazine. I have 3 people out of 37 that filled out this survey say they actually read it, and the rest of them just throw it away. So if you actually want to get inside with this audience, I'm a better activation than a magazine, and I'll have more return on your investment. So that's a good way to leverage that. Same thing with the programs. You target the advertisers. The non-magazines that you read are for cross branding. Sports that you watch also for advertisers. And these are my industry specific questions. How important is organic food? How important is organic products? How important is training specifically for your motorsport? Skin facial care? How important is hair care? Do you struggle with corrective lenses? Do you find your hair gets snarly, tangled, damaged when you ride? I don't know if you know this or not, guys, but my target audience is women. But I want to show you guys something really interesting. Do you find your hair gets snarly, tangled, damaged when you ride? When you ride multiple days in a row? Does your skin break out in the last 12 months? Has a member of your household needed physical therapy? These are all sponsor-specific questions. And one of the questions I really appreciate is, what do you wish the motorsports community had more of? So for Courtney, when she filled out this survey, this response that she got from this question was amazing. Her newest activation is that at each checkpoint in the Minnesota Enduros, there is a like hide a potty, not a porta potty, but just a little, you know, the little kitty things. And then she has a little shower curtain that she straps up to a tree for the ladies, because there's like 5 women that come, but we just created a pro women's class for the ladies in Minnesota. And the worst thing is when you have 3 minutes before your gate drops and you have to pee and you have to walk a mile into the freaking woods to like go, and you have to take all your gear off and stuff. So instead she just has a spot like right there, right next to where all the guys can just turn around and pee, you know, so that we have something. That was what she got from this response, and she got really good sponsors from it. What do you wish the motorsports community had more of?
Bathrooms.
It's a weird activation, but if you think about it, it has a lot of value for a very specific audience.
I'm the one of us with a overactive bladder, so I see the back of you everywhere we go.
And then, you know, what brands do you think would make good sponsors? That's just like a throwaway one, so that anybody that shows up on this list, you can send them an email and be like, hey, you showed up in our survey. Our audience said that they would like to see you in our survey, like would love to connect. Very generic. So then I move on to demographics. And why do I move on to demographics? Because demographics are important for understanding who they are. So a Toyota person is not going to go out and buy a Mercedes, but a person who has a Mercedes is more likely to buy like Louis Vuitton. A person who has a Toyota car is more likely to go to Walmart. You know that they're budget shoppers. They're fine with like the middle class kind of stuff. But one of the things that I found was really important when I go through demographics is that through your survey, you're going to pull out audience avatars. You're going to create audiences from your survey. And one of the things that I did, I have a recording of it. Maybe I'll send it to you if I can find it. I had a call with a physical therapy company. And one of the things I brought up was that my audience is 39% female in the motorsports industry, and its average is 19%. So I already had his interest. But one of my audience segments, I was like, I have 3 audience segments that you can tap into. I have moto moms who have 2 kids, who make the decisions of the household. And then I have single women in their 20s, like adventure seekers trying to travel around, and they sometimes get in over their head. And then I have middle-aged dog parents who like to go hiking and find it as like a side joy. Basically, they're like the adventure tours, and they go camping. And he goes, I really want to talk to the moto moms, because the moto moms will schedule their son's appointments, and they never want to take the son and the father to different people. So if we can get the moto moms on board, then we can get the father and the sons. The Dollar Beard Club. Have you guys ever seen those guys? It's like a subscription to facial hair stuff. I don't know anything about them, but they did $1.8 million in sales in 2 days by targeting women. Isn't that a weird statistic? I don't know about you, but I've never seen a woman with a beard before.
I know a lot of women like men's razors. They say women razors suck.
That's true, but they targeted women with a campaign that boasted softer stubble. That was their campaign, was a kissable face, you know? So, and like beard hygiene, and the women were like, yes, because there's this thing that happens for girls, like when a guy has a beard, where we can actually get skin infections, and it's really terrible. So they targeted the female audience because they have dads and they have husbands and boyfriends and brothers and etc. So for Christmas, they're like, what a great gift. I'll get them the like gift box for beard care for whatever, you know, like I know they love their beard. It's perfect. Oh my God. So it's all about understanding who your audience is and how you can leverage your audience to get to your ideal audience. So Zach has an interesting conundrum where his whole brand is about veterans, but none of his audience is veterans. It's the wife of the veterans. And he thought that was really interesting until he understood that they're the ones that make the decisions. I have my entire website is dedicated to talking to moms who don't ride, because it's all about giving their kids the education to be safe on a motorcycle. It's about their husbands learning how to prevent injury. So I talk to moms to get to my ideal audience. So understanding who is your audience is the first step to being able to position yourself as a good marketing asset. That's why the demographics are really important. And then I move on to the like, how likely are you to do the next to the following? I honestly usually don't use any of this stuff. The only stuff that really comes into play is like, we're extremely likely to purchase motorsports gear. That's how you get in with endemic brands. It's like, hey, 98% of my audience is likely to buy a dirt bike this year. I would love to partner with Beta to get them a deal, give them like $500 off. They're more likely to pick your brand, something like that. It just gives you the leverage and the power to be like, hey, my audience is going to purchase aftermarket parts. And that's how Zach got a dealer position. So he's a dealer for Rocky Mountain because he came back to them and told them that 100% of his audience is going to buy aftermarket parts for their motorcycle.
Super cool. We sort of, yeah, I asked a question that was similar to that about, well, one that stands out was, are you going to buy a trailer within the next like 18 months or something? And right around the corner from my house, there's a trailer company. So it's one of those like, all right, this will be a good question to just leave in the template, you know?
Yep.
Leave good.
Yeah, that's how you get in with dealers. TVs and major consumer electronics. If you want to go to Best Buy, so this is all of corporate stuff. If you're going to be going to corporate companies, you got to have these numbers. If you don't want to talk to corporate, you don't need it. It's good to have, but you don't need it. Like travel out of state, travel out of country. I used for Camping World. Be like, hey, 80% of my audience plans on traveling out of state. Let's get them a rent an RV or something. I don't know. I don't care. But it's just extra data to leverage if you need it. It's not necessary, and that's why it's at the end. And same thing with brand presence. Like, who's your current financial institution? I like to do this because I like to see who's the category king in our audience. So if Wells Fargo dominates our audience, I can go to Wells Fargo and I can say, hey, our audience is currently using you, but I noticed this really controversial thing and a lot of people are talking about it and they hate it. So if you sponsor us, our audience is more likely to support you. And that could help cover up some of the recent happenings and make people like your brand again. And if they're like, get the fuck out of here, you can go, cool, hey, Bank of America, my audience currently runs Wells Fargo. Do you want to tap into my audience because our audience is more likely to support a brand that supports us and we have a 20% brand loyalty conversion rate? And they'll be like, yeah, we would love to steal Wells Fargo's customers and have more money in our bank. Why not? Because frankly, who the heck wants to talk about internet providers? You guys need to listen to that interview with Brian Craham, the CMO of Sherco, because he signed a multi-million-dollar deal with an electrical company.
All right.
And he did it by doing a free jersey giveaway. And it was because nobody wants to talk about electrical providers at a sports event. So he got people excited about the electrical provider. It's through a thing called a Mifki, which is the most incredible free gift ever. It's where you have something so exciting that nobody cares about the other rest of the deal. They just want the one thing. So in this case, it was everybody wanted a team jersey. So they made them the title sponsor on the jersey. But in order to get the jersey, you had to sign up for their electrical service, like first 30 days free or something like that. So he signed them into a continuity by giving away a free jersey.
Wow.
Oh, he probably drove so much business to the brand.
So that's why these questions are important. I know they seem like BS questions and I put them at the end, but it's so that you can understand who's the category king and how you can position yourself to be like, hey, my audience really likes this person and I noticed you're the underdog. Let's get you in front of these people and see what happens. My audience is extremely likely to change their internet provider because, I don't know, Excel blew up. I don't know. I don't know anything about energy companies, but that was his specific thing, was like energy is unregulated in the state of Texas. And there was something that was happening with the current electrical company that wasn't going well. So he was trying to get the underdog. So Amigo, it was originally just going to be a $25,000 deal, and he moved them to multi-million-dollar deals by lowering customer acquisition costs, because it costs $25 to build a jersey, but they were spending over $50 to sign a new customer by marketing to their direct competitor. So by getting in at a lower cost to get to a new audience, he gave them a much lower customer acquisition cost and signed a ton of money.
That's wild. Yeah, we just need to make sure that we look at everything that we do from multiple perspectives, not just whatever comes to light. That's, I think, maybe where we're because there's a lot of ways to look at the situation.
Yeah. And it's hard, especially if you're not if you don't have the experience in marketing, it's hard to see all of the different possibilities for activations. I just had a girl reach out to me. She's like, this is so great. The questions you gave me to ask people, I think it's really amazing. I was really thinking about just telling them about my trailer. And I was like, no, don't just tell them about your trailer. Ask them what they want, because everybody tells them what they need. Nobody listens to them. So if they feel like they're being listened to, they'll talk forever. They will never stop talking. They will tell you exactly what they want and exactly how to do it. And they will come up with all their own ideas. All you got to do is just kind of guide it. You'll be like, cool, if you want to do that, we can make that happen. Like, what's your budget? And we'll figure it out from there. And he'll be like, yeah, please. So it's about being able to take the step back. And it took like 3 iterations for her to be like, oh, I get it. Like, I'm the one asking for money. The least I could do is let them say what they want to say. And it's like, kind of, yeah. I mean, don't just then, after they tell you exactly what they want, don't just throw in, cool, here's what we can do. Like, don't do that. Like, go with what they say. Don't just be like, I noticed you said these things. I'm going to completely ignore everything you just said. Here are the logos I can get you. Like, don't do that. Actually roll with what they want.
That makes total sense. Yeah, actually, yeah. Don't just try to sell. Just actually listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, actually listen to them. Hear what they want.
That's great. Well, I know you said you were on sort of a time constraint today. I don't want to keep holding you up here.
It's all good. Was this helpful for you guys?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Angel, do you have any questions or final words for these gentlemen?
No,
Going
I'm
for
really
the
excited to see where you
unmute
guys
button.
go with this. I'm really excited to see where you guys go with this, and like this is really cool to just be a part of. I love, like I said, seeing you guys. Like I can see the wheels turning, so this is awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on taking the next step.
Yeah. Woohoo. Cool. In the meantime, do you guys want to do a selfish plug before I do my selfish plug at the end of this? Is there anything you want to say to the people who are listening, or how do they find you? How do they get in contact with you? Where do they go?
Yeah, so if you wanted to follow us, we have a pretty active Instagram account. It's going to be Get Torqued Motorsport and at Get Torqued Racing too. I think, what are they, underscores? But we do have our YouTube following too that we've been trying to build out, and that's just Get Torqued on YouTube. And yeah, we're constantly trying to push more content and grow our community. So yeah, if you feel like following our journey, we'll be doing this at least the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, hopefully a lifetime.
Yeah, right.
Heck yes. Nice. Awesome. All right.
Do we get a dad joke at the end? Do we get?
Well, of course you're going to do a dad
You
joke,
guys
but I have to
have
do
a
my
dad
selfish
joke?
plug
Oh my
first.
God.
And I didn't even tell them, Angel. I completely forgot. I didn't even give them a heads up, but they were on
I'm so proud of you guys.
it. Selfish plug. If you want to check out the free book, just go to don'tsaysponsorship.com. That has the 20 plus secrets that these guys have been studying, but in even further depth. And then after you get that free book, on the next page, there's actually an offer to join our membership site where we have the community with gentlemen like this. You guys are going to get the invite to the community. Congratulations. Community of gentlemen just like this who are working through this process. And you can also get in contact with Angel and I through that community, as well as access to our massive online course that I've been teaching to my group coaching students, so you can get further in depth in the book. You'll get weekly releases to the new books that we're writing as far as audience secrets and programs secrets go, so that you can build programs kind of like what these guys are talking about, figure out what it takes to be able to make your own money in motorsports so that you can help grow the community, get sponsors to back it, and how to grow the audience for those communities. All of that stuff is inside that membership site. And it all starts with www.don'tsaysponsorship.com, and it's all free. The first 30 days are free on the membership site. And I don't restrict any of the content you get. You get recorded interviews with like the CEO of Custom Chrome, biggest competitor to Parts Unlimited and Drag Specialties, why he signed a $50,000 annual salary to a father-son combo. The chief marketing officer of Sherco and how he signed that multi-million-dollar deal on those jerseys, really in depth, as well as a 3-hour interview with our students about what he likes about their programs, how they can improve it, get that information for yourself, and interviews with our copywriter and marketer for all of our group coaching students who get to work with her and figure out how they present their programs and build out their websites and everything for building out their audience. All of that's in the membership site. First 30 days free. And then it's just $37 a month to be able to work with all of that. Cancel anytime, no minimums or any of that jazz. Yeah, all starts at www.don'tsaysponsorship.com. Brought to you by Don't Say Sponsorship. I think that's the smoothest I've ever done that. So that was cool. Nice. All right. On to the dad joke.
Who's telling it? Are we telling it?
Yeah, of course you're telling it. You're the guest.
We're gonna have to take
I don't see anything about this dad
the
joke.
easy route out.
Wait a second. I thought you guys were prepared.
We were prepared for a dad joke, not the dad joke.
Oh, man. All right. I guess we didn't do our homework well enough, Angel.
Well, lately I've been living quite afraid for the calendar. Its days are numbered.
Wow.
What else do we got?
Let's say, gotta have another one. Let's hear it.
Here, you pick one.
Where does this whole dad joke come into play? Did I miss out on something here?
Since the start of the podcast, they at the end of each episode they do a dad joke. It's usually better than the one I just did. Now my hands are sweaty. Got me telling jokes and nervous.
Oh. Hey, what color is the wind?
I don't know.
Blue.
Oh man. Yep, my Google searches didn't work out for us. We better just leave off on that one.
I was about to say, oh, all right. Cool. On that note, you guys know where to reach me. And you guys are doing a giveaway. Why don't you talk about?
Yeah, so every month actually we have a giveaway. It's usually some sponsor goodies, some partner goodies, and Get Torqued Motorsports shirt or two, depending. And yeah, so every month pretty much we start up a new one. And yeah, that'll be on our social, on our Instagram, and we usually promote it a little bit on YouTube too. Other than that, yeah, we were trying to build a Discord community, but I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Zach keeps trying to get me to use Slack, and it was really weird because I opened up the app and it had me swipe left and right on like direct messages in order to mark them read or unread. And I was like, I don't like that this is like a dating app right now that I'm like, I couldn't keep it straight. I'm like, which way am I swiping for read or unread? Like I couldn't fit. It was so strange. Not my jamorama, but cool. All right. Everybody, you know what to do. Follow them on the Instagrams, get the free book, do all that jazz. Subscribe to their YouTube channel, get in on the giveaways.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a stellar rest of your day, guys. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out here. So
yeah,
thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.